Welcome to Trump Breaking News Network, your daily source for up-to-date news on the political scene of Donald Trump, his presidency, American politics and conspiracies. Please subscribe to receive notice of our daily updates. Also share with your friends and your social media. We encourage you to like our videos and give your comments.
This is TBNN.
Why celebrities like Eminem need to stop pointing their finger at Donald Trump. Neither Donald Trump nor Hillary Clinton is fit to be president, neither was Obama and many other presidents down the line. They've all followed the will of their masters, and that's the main point of this article. Donald Trump's presidency will no doubt go down in history, for several reasons. One is the fact that he was able to beat out Hillary Clinton, despite that she was able to rig her way into contention past Bernie Sanders through fraudulent activities, as disclosed by WikiLeaks and more. A great example of that were the DNC emails that exposed a rigged election, which was also blamed on Russia and WikiLeaks, despite evidence that the leaks actually came from inside the United States. You can read more of our articles about that here. Hillary was no doubt the next pick for the global elite to continue forth with the agenda of the American empire, which they've been pushing for years, one that now has the reputation of imposing their will on multiple countries through various means in order to install or establish a political and economic framework for their own benefit. America has turned into a corporatocracy, far from a democracy, and much evil doing is disguised as goodwill. A term commonly used would be globalization. If you follow the money, it's not hard to see. Journalist Tabby Martin did a great video on how Hillary Clinton's political machine really operated. You can check that out here. In the meantime, panic and fear have been instilled into the masses, via false flag terrorism, events like 9/11, the war on drugs and terror, and more, all of which are used to justify the infiltration of countries, like Iraq, for ulterior motives, and take away our rights here back home. The current surveillance state is one of many great examples. The fact remains, as alluded to by multiple insiders and scientific studies like this, that there was never a good reason to do so, infiltrate other countries, as emphasized a few years ago by former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and U.S. General, Wesley Clark. He told the world that the U.S. has had plans to invade Syria, and several other countries, for no good reason, for a long time. Simply because the U.S. has a powerful military and can take down governments. As a result of propaganda and Uncle Sam, a great deal of patriotism has been sparked inside the hearts of many, who are made to believe that supporting the mass military machine is something dignified, something necessary, something very brave and patriotic about. A great quote from Mark Twain comes to mind here. The statesman will invent cheap lies, putting the blame upon the nation that is attacked, and every man will be glad of those conscience-soothing falsities, and will diligently study them, and refuse to examine any refutations of them, and thus he will by and by convince himself the war is just, and will thank God for the better sleep he enjoys after this process of grotesque self-deception. Mark Twain. All of the great minds throughout history have emphasized this fact, in light of countless examples of evidence. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society, and those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government. The Dalai Lama has also made some great points about the mass military machine, and how we are all brainwashed into acceptance. You can read more about that and see his comments here. This invisible government is exactly why those with an influential voice must not target Donald Trump the way they do. A great example was Eminem pouring it on Donald Trump a few months ago with a freestyle. When popular figures among the masses speak up about political, and other, real-world global issues, they have a tremendous influence, but just imagine if they used their voice to call out those who really run things on our planet. Those above the government and into the corporations, health, finance, entertainment, big food and pharma, all the way past them into the upper echelons of the global financial institutions, the trilaterals, CFRs, the IMFs, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers and beyond even these previously mentioned. That being said, it's also important to remember that we uphold the current human experience, the masses, and if we choose to work together collectively, we can change the experience at any time. Playing the blame game is usually, but it's important that we at least see what is going on here. It's obvious to see why Donald Trump is not fit to be President of the United States, while at the same time acknowledging the fact that, when it comes to Hillary, we are dealing with corruption and one who does the will of her masters and the highest levels. Whether it be alleged pedophilia activity, or supporting the infiltration of various countries through unethical means, and the killing of millions of people, these are all very important points to be made. The point is, our entire modern-day political system is broken and doesn't really represent a democracy. The will of the people is not met, but rather influenced, used and taken in a direction of powerful people with a greedy, egoic agenda. It seems like voting makes no difference. Hillary Clinton was not supposed to lose this election, and it's clear that Trump was a disruptor in the plans of a group of higher-ups. This fact has been brought up in mainstream political talk within the past couple of years, with figures like Vladimir Putin telling the world what exactly happens when you're elected president, stating that men in dark suits come in and tell you what's going to be done. He made this point when explaining why U.S. presidents, during the election race, make promises that they're unable to fulfill. It's because there is a higher power. Putin is one of many who have told the world, on multiple occasions, that they are using imaginary and mythical threats to create a justification for certain actions, to gain political and economic advantages. So a person is elected, he comes with his ideas. Then people with briefcases come to visit him, well-dressed, in dark suits kind of like mine. Except instead of a red tie it's black or navy. And then they explain what to do, and the whole rhetoric changes, you see? This happens from one administration to the next. Putin. You can watch a video of him making these comments here. So what do we have today? Assumptions of alleged Russian hacking and WikiLeaks ties to the Russians. Because Hillary Clinton lost the election, the United States needed something to try and get Donald Trump impeached. This narrative has been countered by several people from within the agency, stating that it's just another false flag type of situation in which they will desperately try to create evidence for. William Binney, a high-ranking NSA whistleblower, is one of many examples making this point. We are witnessing what could be completely fake news, a story that was manufactured. How many times have we been misled? How many stories have we been made to believe are real, but are actually fake? How many times have we heard fake explanations for real events? It's important to keep in mind that mainstream news stories are changed, by the government, to serve the interests of national security. Multiple documents via FOIA have shown intelligence agency influence over mainstream media, a close relationship, as well as the need to completely fabricate stories. On top of this, we have insiders themselves, world-renowned journalists of these networks blowing the whistle on corporate and government collusion. I've been a journalist for about 25 years, and I was educated to lie, to betray, and not to tell the truth to the public. But seeing right now within the last months how the German and American media tries to bring war to the people in Europe, to bring war to Russia, this is a point of no return, and I'm going to stand up and say it is not right what I have done in the past, to manipulate people, to make propaganda against Russia, and it is not right what my colleagues do and have done in the past because they are bribed to betray the people, not only in Germany, all over Europe. Dr. Udo Ulfkott. He also stated in that interview, as have many others, that mainstream news outlets are commonly paid by governments, intelligence agencies and big corporations to put out certain stories. We are witnessing a war between Donald Trump and the mainstream for a reason, because the powerful, who represent mainstream media, and own it, did not want him to win. They will continue to bash and slander his name. Meanwhile, those who are considered war criminals by many, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, are made to look like saints. It just doesn't make sense, and it really exposes the priority of mainstream media and how it doesn't convey what's happening in the world, but perhaps creates it. Donald Trump was not puppeteered by this secret government prior to his election, But the agenda of those who are much more powerful seems to continue forward in many aspects. And this is because Trump has now found out what really happens behind the scenes, as alluded to earlier in the article with the Putin example, and even he himself, Trump, has succumbed to the will of the deep state, it seems. The U.S. is always blaming and citing problems in other countries, that might not even exist, threats that are completely made up and manufactured all the time, it seems. We recently interviewed historian Richard Dolan on the subject, who explained very well why he believed Donald Trump may have, what seems to be clear now, been checkmated by this deep state. You can access that interview and see his explanation here. Again, keep in mind that this has been a problem for decades that has affected almost all the presidencies. Here's another great quote to exemplify this point. Political parties exist to secure responsible government and to execute the will of the people. From these great staffs, both of the old parties have gained a side. Instead of instruments to promote the general welfare, they have become the tools of corrupt interests which use them in marshalling, to serve their selfish purposes. Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. To destroy this invisible government, to befoul the unholy alliance between corrupt business and corrupt politics is the first task of the statesmanship of the day. D. Roosevelt. So, all of you celebrities. There are countless points to go through when discussing such topics, and so many examples that can be used. The point is, if you're a celebrity and would like to speak up on such issues, it's important that for those of you who have a voice, to mention the hidden mechanisms that seem to control U.S. politics. Sure, the fact that Donald Trump is even involved does suggest he is simply another puppet, and it's become clear that he is, but perhaps a puppet of a different kind that represents a struggle between those who play within the deep state's rules. See our stance on Donald Trump here. It seems as if it's time to really leave politics behind, and create something new that is really in the best interests of the people and all life on this planet. One thing is certain, politics does not do that, and this entire system is not interested in the well-being, freedom, and abundance for all. If the leadership of this planet really were interested in that, and through their actions it seems quite clear that they're all just putting on a charade. The revelations that have been made connected to both Trump-Clinton, and further down the line show that these are not who we should be calling our leaders.
This has been the Trump Breaking News Network. Please subscribe and share to stay up to date on the latest news about our president. Be informed.